Good evening. Welcome to the December 20th, 2021 meeting of the Stillwater City Council. This time, At this time, I will call the meeting to order, and I'll ask you all to stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. We got a big crowd tonight. And just remind you, if you're here to speak on any of the items on the agenda, you do need to sign up. Patty over here will have a form if you haven't filled one out. First up, we do have the consent docket. Councilors, questions, comments, or motions on the consent docket?
Motion to approve the consent docket.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent docket. Please vote. With a vote of 4-0, the consent docket is approved. Item 4 is public comment on items not scheduled for public hearings. I don't think we have anyone signed up for that. So we will move to item 6, which is public hearings. First up, item 6A, receive public comment regarding a request for a map amendment to rezone 1223 South Husband Place from commercial general to small lot single family residential. This is CC-21-229. Ms. Carnley, did we have good notice on this item?
Yes, we do.
Thank you. Mr. Harkins.
Thank you, Mayor. Council members, Ryan Harkins, Community Development. This is a map amendment to rezone as stated from general commercial to RSS, the small lot single family residential. The subject property is shown here in the purple hatch pattern. This is the intersection of Husband Place and 13th. It is on the northeast corner of the intersection. It's an existing residential lot with a existing single-family detached dwelling unit on it. You get a better idea of that on the aerial here in front of you. The subject property in this case is inside the red polygon. And then the street view gives you an even better low-down location example and recon details of the property in question. The applicant is looking to rezone the property because as it stands right now in the general commercial zoning district, the single family detached dwelling unit is a non-conforming use. So if something were to happen under code, this would not be allowed to be rebuilt, hence the rezoning request. You can see on the zoning map here the general commercial as well as RSS zoning, which is located to the south. So this would be an extension of that zoning district. You can also see RT and then commercial business surrounding the subject property. The future land use map shows a mix of low density and commercial in this part of the community. And this is better illustrated on the close-up. Subject property is in the black hatch pattern and is indicated to be commercial. However, you can see the residential immediately across the street. So this would be a minor change, but again, a minor one. And staff as well as Planning Commission felt this was an appropriate extension of the zoning and the land use. Questions of staff?
Thank you, Ryan. Any questions, councilors? Ryan, I don't suppose you have any sort of historical understanding of how we ended up with that weird pattern of commercial and residential on that block?
It's a very good question. Probably at the time the zoning ordinance was updated as best as we can ascertain and the comprehensive plan was developed, the land use was indicated to take more of a larger area for commercial, and then the zoning probably changed at some point in time to be more responsive to that, just trying to, at the time, be more open to what opportunities could be there in an older area that might be transitioning.
There are no commercial properties down there?
What's that?
Are there any commercial properties on that block?
No. This is mainly an area of just older residential. So an area that was speculatively thought to be transitioning that just didn't happen the way we thought.
That makes sense. Thank you, Ryan.
Do you know if the applicant intends to keep the existing structure?
They can answer that more, but our understanding is they've remodeled the existing structure, and at some point they have thought of trying to add a second residential dwelling unit in that location as well.
Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you.
At this point, I will open the public hearing. Do we have a representative from the owner here, or the owners here? Hello, sir. You could just introduce yourself, name and address for the record, and let us know your thoughts.
My name is Greg Strasher. We're the owner of 1223 South Hudson Place. And as Ryan said, we were trying to just rezone that to be used for what it's zoned for, because if something did happen to it, then was not able to remodel that or rebuild it as is, so we remodeled it as is.
All right.
Sir, any further questions I can
Councilors?
answer?
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you
y'all.
being here.
Appreciate it.
I don't have anyone else signed up to speak on this item. So at this point, I'll close the public hearing, and I'll ask Ryan to come back up and let us know what the Planning Commission's recommendation is.
So the Planning Commission recommended to you by a vote of 4-0 to approve the map amendment request. Staff's recommendation is the same.
Thank you, sir. Councilors, any further questions for Ryan? Is there a comment or motion on the item?
Motion to accept Planning Commission's recommendation.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to accept the Planning Commission's recommendation and approve the rezoning. Please vote. With a vote of 4-0, that item is approved. Item B is receive public comment regarding a request for a map amendment on 1032 Lakeview Road. We have a memo to postpone that item to February 14, 2022. I think we need a motion to that effect.
Motion to postpone item B, no.
Yeah.
Yeah, B to February 14th,
Second.
2022.
We have a motion and a second to postpone item B to February 14, 2022. Please vote. With a vote of 4-0, that item is postponed. Next up is item 6C, receive public comment regarding a request for a specific use permit to allow an adult care services center at 908 East 12th Avenue, CC-21-228. Ms. Carnley, did we have good notice on this item?
Yes, we do.
Thank you. Ryan?
Thank you, Your Honor. Councilors, Ryan Harkins, Community Development. So this is a specific use request to do an adult group care facility for women dealing with substance and mental health issues. The address is 908 East 12th. Subject property is inside the purple hatch pattern on the screen. You'll notice Couch Park and Hoyt Grove Park are adjacent to the subject property, and it sits with access onto 12th Street. The aerial gives you a better indication of the subject property. This is looking toward the northeast across 12th Avenue, and the subject property is inside that yellow polygon. It's a long building. In the past, it's been used as an adult group care home for the elderly. So this specific use request would be a bit tighter in its scope than what previously has been there. Currently, it's been used for multifamily, particularly for Greek housing overflow in the past. The street view gives you an idea of what this looks like from 12th, looking onto the property. You see the front elevation, you see the entrance, and then the building stretches back toward the north. The zoning map indicates RSS as noted in the request. The subject property in this case is inside that black hatch pattern with RSS on 2 immediate sides and then public zoning because of publicly owned land on 2 other sides. Future land use map is a mix of park and open space as well as low density residential in this area, as further indicated on the close-up of the future land use map with the subject property in this case inside the black hatch pattern as well. Questions of staff?
Councilors, any questions? Thank you, Ryan. This time I will open the public hearing on this item. Do we have a representative of the applicant?
Good evening, Mayor and councilors. My name is Joshua Conaway. I live at 3922 Oakcrest Avenue in Enid, Oklahoma. 2020 Investment Group may sound like a scary corporate entity. If you've met me and you've met my father, you've met the owners of this property. We were not the initial owners who had the adult care services facility prior to us acquiring it. There was a specific use permit on this property years ago, and it was used for adult care services. That use permit had expired, had lapsed, and we purchased the property. I am actually not the one who's going to operate the adult care services facility. As much as I'm sure individuals would love to hear a lawyer try to rehabilitate them, in absence of Ms. Carnley, I probably only further drive or cause problems. So we actually have a lady here today who's going to speak on this for questions that specifically detail the program. But if the council had any questions about the property or what our interest was in it, I'm happy to answer any questions about that now.
Thank you, sir. Any questions, councilors? All right.
Thank you for your time.
Do we have another representative of the program to speak?
Hello, Council. My name is Dee Miller, 1602 Fairfield Drive, Stillwater, Oklahoma. I will serve as the director of the residential group home program, and I have a little video to show you, just a quick update about what this program will be. So it's called the About Face Women's Program. We're going to serve the women that are in Logan and Payne counties. Some statistics for your information. From 2016 to 2020, we had 10,676 women that were arrested just out of these two counties. 837 of those had felony charges filed. We sent 162 of those women to prison. The average length of their prison sentence was 9.2 years because 88% of those women had prior felony convictions. Average age of those that we sent to prison is 36.5 years. Those controlling charges, possession of controlled dangerous substance without a prescription. Many of you may know or may not know that women who have, or people who use methamphetamine have really bad teeth. When you go to the dentist, what kind of prescription do they give you? Anybody? Percocet, Loratab. So what you do is you figure out at some point, instead of pulling 2 or 3 teeth at a time, you just get one so you continue to get your prescriptions. Sooner or later, you're addicted to those drugs. Okay. Our average daily population in the Payne and Logan County Jail is 27% of those are females. We have a mission statement for this program. It's to provide intensive holistic treatment, life skills, job skills, counseling, education, vocational programming, and a residential group setting. This goal will help us reduce that criminal recidivism, equip and empower those participants for long-term change. Vision statement for the program: Oklahoma has the highest incarceration rate of females in the nation. We want to reduce those things by giving those women some innovative and effective, long-lasting, productive change. Description of our program: it is a 501(c)(3). We've established that so we'll be able to solicit funds from foundations, federal grants. This will not be anything that is funded by the state or the county. We will target women that are between the ages of 20 and 40 with non-violent criminal backgrounds. This is a phased program. So phases 1 through 4 will be in the group home setting. We're going to keep these women for 1 year. During that time frame, they'll receive assessments, counseling, have physicals, vocational training, job interviewing skills. We will partner with Meridian Career Tech now. We've talked to them about helping get our women in some job trades. We want them to be able to take care of themselves once they leave this program. The 5th phase will be in the community. We will have some community mentors to help transition them into their own housing with the support of the staff that they've been with for the past year. As you'll see in the photographs, we have all of these where we're turning these women around. So substance abuse will be done in a 12-step program. They also have an opportunity to have faith-based counseling if they so choose. They're going to get some vocational trades. That way they'll be able to take care of themselves once they leave this program financially. We have some people that are going to serve as community mentors. They will need the support once they get back in the community. And so I've actually talked to several people here in Stillwater and also in Guthrie that will help serve as those mentors. And I have some of those support people that are actually here this evening. This is a picture of the house. So very thankful that we've gotten through maybe the first step of having this facility approved. While they're in the program, they will receive all of these services. In that 12-month group home setting, we'll have mental health, substance abuse, we'll have trauma-based counseling, cognitive behavior training, codependency therapy, educational vocational training. They will have assessments done. We'll work on their housing referrals so they have some place to go once they leave the program, and also the aftercare. Once they're in the community, they are able to come back to the house to do their outpatient counseling for a minimum of 6 months. And we'll actually ask some of them to stay as long as a year. So the support system will be there for them. We have a board of directors. These people have volunteered their services to help us get this program established in the community. We might be looking for some extra people who would like to help too, but this is going to be a community-based program. This is our budget for the first year. We're looking at hiring a psychologist. We'll have a mental health provider, a substance abuse provider, someone that will work with them on self-esteem, creating a cost too to have the program evaluated by Oklahoma State University. So we have an outside entity that will take care of that. The cost of the facility, that is the rent for the program, for the house. It also includes the cost of utilities for the building. I've checked with the city of Stillwater to find out approximately how much those things would be a month. This is the first year's budget, okay? The equipment, furniture, all of those things have been priced locally. So I went to Big Lots and Furniture Factory, Staples, to look at how much things cost. Everything will be purchased here locally. There's a total for our first year, that's $664,777. And some of these things actually wind up be in-kind services, but that's the actual cost of the program for a year. We have some community partners. These are individuals who have already agreed to invest in this program. So it is local. The one thing I want to share with you quickly about Our Daily Bread, it sits just down the street from this facility. So the house also sits on about 1 acre of land. So Daily Bread, who has a gardening program and they're going to help teach our ladies how to grow some plants, and in turn we can help them with their gardening. So we're looking at keeping things local and developing some community resources for our people. The apprenticeship programs, once our ladies finish their vocational trade skill at Meridian, we have some apprenticeship programs that are here in the county that can help put these people to work as carpenters and plumbers and those things. The ladies will also be eligible for something called the Targeted Job Tax Credit, which will pay for half of the cost of their hourly salary for at least 6 months. So the employers won't be out that much money, and again, they're creating some jobs for them. Women will start together in this program. So they start behind the system because of their backgrounds. We're going to work together too to finish. This is one program where we're not always concerned about having all of the beds full. We will house 18 women in this program, and hopefully 18 women will finish. But if we lose 1 or 2 to whatever the circumstances are, we will not replace them. This is a community effort with them to build their strength between each other. There's some statistics from the Bureau of Justice. Women that have these things in place that have criminal backgrounds, so if they complete a long-term treatment program, women that have a job trade, have stable housing, have a community mentor, they're able to attend aftercare, there's an 82% success rate that these women would not reoffend within that first 3 years. We have the support of the District Attorney's Office. Ms. Laura Thomas is also present with us this evening. So the goal is to reduce that criminal recidivism of our women in these 2 counties, which is our judicial district, by equipping and empowering them for lifelong change. That's the About Face Women's program. They start behind the wall, they should finish turned around with lifelong change. Thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate that overview of the program, Ms. Miller. That's certainly seems like a wonderful and very strongly supported program here in the community. Is there anyone else signed up to speak on this specific use permit? Okay, at this time I will close the public hearing, and I'll ask Ryan to come back up and let us know what the Planning Commission recommends.
So at the Planning Commission's review and public hearing, they voted to recommend by a vote of 4-0 that you approve the SUP request for the adult care facility for women for mental health and substance abuse issues.
Thank you, Ryan.
Staff's concurring with that recommendation.
Thank you. Counselors, any further questions for staff?
I think my only comment, question, verification for Ryan, in using a special use permit on this, that does mean that we can ensure that the facility is an adult care facility for females, and have some of those specifics in there. I know listening to the Planning Commission meeting, that was one of the concerns.
That is correct. By approving it as an SUP, if there are conditions you want to set, you can do that. We can also verify on an annual basis, if need be, that this is operating as it was approved and not as something else.
Thank you.
Is the current SUP drafted for it to be a female facility?
The approval form is drafted as a adult care facility, but we can make that modification to be more specific as need be.
Well, the way these SUPs are drafted refers to according to the information contained in the application and illustrated on the site plan. And I don't know if that, is there specifics within the application, because I don't have that in front of me, that says exactly what it will do?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what that was my understanding, is that those specifics about what how the building would be used is within the application and the site plan, and then the specific use permit refers back to those. So any change from that would then make the SUP invalid. Yep. Okay. Does that answer your question, Councilor Jalewski?
I think so. So that things like that they're nonviolent offenders and female, those would all be included in the application and therefore part of our approval of the specific use permit.
Correct. So if the program changed and brought in violent offenders, or changed the use and they were just renting as a multifamily type facility, the SUP would become null and void, and it would have to come back to Planning Commission and Council for further approval.
Okay. I mean, we do have a parks and recreation facility across from this property, so I think some of those constraints would be important to approval for this, in my opinion anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the other piece of this, and just the discussions I've had, is the description of how the vetting process would work for these for the women that they are going to have in this treatment facility, and again, nonviolent, but also going through several different levels of review before they are admitted to this program.
And I think the community partnerships is key too. It's not a standalone. There are many entities that will be partnering with this organization to ensure the success of it, and that is encouraging, because then that means there's a lot of, finally we're doing something hopefully to reduce statistics that we are known for in this state. So I am pleased that this is moving forward.
Great.
I'm certainly grateful for your presentation and the work that you are getting ready to embark on.
Yeah, just to echo what Vice Mayor Zanotti said, I think the community group that's been put together to help manage this program and makes the use of the facility feel a whole lot more, it's not, some sort of outside for-profit entity that's just running a home here. This is a group of our neighbors who are helping their neighbors, and that certainly, I think, gives me a lot more comfort that it will be run in the right way. All right, further questions, comment, or is there a motion on the SUP?
Motion to accept the Planning Commission's recommendation and approve the specific use permit for property located at 908 East 12th Avenue.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the specific use permit. Please vote. With a vote of 4-0, that item is approved. Best of luck to you all who are working on the program, and thank you for the work you're doing. Item 6D, receive public comment regarding a request from Vaquero Stillwater Partners for the closing of a utility easement located on property addressed as 711 North Main Street. CC-23-234. Ms. Carnley, did we have good notice?
Yes, we do.
Thank you. Mr. Harkins?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, councilors. This is a request to close an easement at 711 North Main. The subject property is here inside of the purple hatch pattern. It's part of a future redevelopment project for commercial redevelopment happening at this intersection that involves this lot as well as the lot immediately north. This gives you an idea of the easement location on that lot. It's essentially what would be the northeast corner. This is a narrow easement that has been used for electrical access in the past and electrical service. And any utilities being relocated because the easement is closed would be done at the cost of the developer as part of this process. The aerial photograph here gives you a better idea of the easement location with the easement itself in green at the end of that arrow, and then you can see the previous buildings on the site as the overall project. And this gives you an idea of what the site plan looks like for the redevelopment of the two properties together. Yes, 7-Eleven would be going in at 711 North Main. But having said that, the easement essentially goes through where parking and the backside of the building would be on the east side. So hence the need to close the easement and relocate any utilities in there. But this is the site plan that they're looking at. Questions of staff?
Councilors? Thank you, Ryan. At this time, I'll open the public hearing. I don't think we have anyone signed up to speak on this item. We'll close the public hearing. Ryan, is there a recommendation from staff?
Staff's recommendation is to approve the easement closure request.
Thank you, sir. Councilors?
Motion to accept staff's recommendation to approve the closing of the utility easement at the property addressed at 711 North Main Street.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the request. Please vote. The vote of 4-0, that request is approved. It takes us to item 7, general orders. Item 7A is accept easements required for the sanitary sewer interceptor replacement project pending SUA trustee approval. This is, let's see, and authorize the mayor to execute easement documents. Mr. Barth.
Yes, good evening, councilors. Tonight here asking you to consider accepting 2 sewer easements for the sanitary sewer interceptor replacement project. Typically you would see easement acceptance on the consent agenda. However, this evening, since the meeting is scheduled with the city council meeting before the SUA meeting, we're asking you to accept these easements contingent upon later your authorization of the funds, expending the funds to acquire those easements from the property owners. And so at this juncture, I just wanted to explain that rather than have that on the consent agenda. So do you have any questions?
So we're going to talk about this again in a little bit?
Well, actually, in a little bit, it's on the consent agenda.
On the consent agenda, SUA. Okay.
It's very, very unusual, but if you want to pull it and talk about it, we can talk about it.
I would love for you to give me a brief explanation of the sanitary sewer interceptor replacement project.
Sure. So the wastewater treatment plant, which is located at just south of 32nd and Brush Creek Road, we have a large sewer line that takes the wastewater from the collection system and confines it into a pipe that takes it to the treatment plant. That pipe is failing. And so, in fact, we had an emergency repair that happened in 2015. So we're replacing the beginning at the plant about 1.5 miles of that large interceptor. We're also going in the other direction towards the northeast and replacing about 600 feet of that interceptor. We're replacing the Foxfire lift station, and there's also an aerial crossing that crosses Boomer Creek that we're replacing. So that's the project. It's a very large project.
Thank you.
Yes.
Sometimes I think when we say sanitary sewer interceptor, we don't always understand that means the big pipe that carries all the stuff that gets flushed out of your house to the
Right.
treatment plant.
Yeah, right now our interceptor it's 36 inches in diameter. It's concrete pipe, and we're replacing it with a 48-inch fiberglass pipe. So we're planning on it to last 80 years.
Excellent. If I recall from when we talked about this before, like there's parts of it that go across creeks, and I mean
Yes.
it's a big
Yeah,
run.
most of your sewer lines follow your creeks, and that's just the way that the natural topography. It's best so that you can use gravity instead of having to pump everything. So because of that, you're crossing creeks, you're crossing, drainage swales, and sometimes you have an aerial crossing like what we're replacing on this project. We're also replacing an inverted siphon where the pipes actually dip below the creek bed.
And we need to buy easement in order to put that pipe through.
Yes, we're putting in a bigger pipe right next to the old pipe, so we need more easement.
Makes sense to me. Thank you.
Sure.
Counselors, further questions?
And I've got a recommended motion if you...
Let us know.
Sure. I would recommend that you move to accept the easements for parcels 1.1 and 4.4 required for the sanitary sewer interceptor replacement project pending SUA trustees' approval of funding, and authorize mayor to execute the easement documents.
Motion to accept staff's recommendation.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to accept the staff's recommendation. Please vote. With a vote of 4-0, that is approved. Thank you, David. Item 7B, approve the award of a quality control testing contract for the Center Apron project at Stillwater Regional Airport. It's also a reasonable airport. That's not what it's called, though. Mr. Carnes.
Good evening, Mayor and Councilors. Monty Carnes, Director of Engineering. Earlier this year, you awarded the last construction contract on the airport apron multi-year projects. Per our agreement with Federal Aviation Administration, plus what we do routinely on all our projects, is we retain engineering or material engineering firms to do the testing for the quality control of the materials. We took proposals from 3 firms. Looks like Standard Testing is probably our best bet on this particular project, and we're recommending them to you to award the contract for quality control testing, and there'll also be some engineering services along that with some interpretation. Their proposal came in at about $96,000 for our estimated number of tests. We have $100,000 in the budget that you've already approved. We need authorization to expend those dollars, and we'd like authorization for the full $100,000. Happy to answer any questions.
Counselors?
Monty, is this a company that we've worked with at the airport before?
They have done work there before. can't remember the last project, they did a little bit. They've been in business a long number of years. I've been doing this for 50 years, and they've been around a long time before then. So they're very well qualified, very well established.
What's your recommended motion, Monty?
Recommended motion is to award quality control testing contract to Standard Testing and Engineering per the unit prices for various tests in the proposal. Authorize expenditures not to exceed $100,000 for the services, and authorize the city manager to execute the service agreement.
Thank you, sir. Counselors?
Motion to accept staff recommendation.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to accept the staff recommendation to award this contract. Please vote. With a vote of 4-0, that item's approved.
Thank you.
Thank you, Monty. Item 7C, approve a sole source purchase from WatchGuard for 90 body cameras, associated equipment and installation, licensing and support for a total purchase price of $247,785. Chief Watts.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Councilors. The Police Department's FY22 budget included $379,000 for the implementation of a body-worn camera program. Allocated funding covers the cost of body cameras for all sworn officers, upgrading infrastructure, and storage needed for the data collection of the body cameras. SPD currently uses WatchGuard cameras for all of our cars. We have approximately 61 cars with the WatchGuard system installed in them. We've been using WatchGuard for about 15 years now. We use their proprietary software and their program. We need to be able to retrieve all of the WatchGuard camera footage and download that into upgraded servers. And so we are requesting to stay with WatchGuard as a sole source because no other vendor is able to provide the WatchGuard products. If we go to any other type of body camera or car camera systems, the vast majority of those on the market are a cloud-based program, which means that we would no longer be storing the data, the videos that we have here would go off-site onto a cloud-based program, and a third-party vendor would have control over those. Total cost for purchasing the needed equipment for the body-worn camera program is $365,546.91. The $247,785 allows us to purchase 90 body cameras and the associated equipment, installation, licensing, and support from WatchGuard. So the way these cameras would work is every car would have a docking station. The officers would be assigned a camera. It would dock in their car, recharge, have extra batteries. As soon as they pull in to the police department, it automatically downloads all of that data to our storage system. And so we would also need to upgrade the building infrastructure, which is that quote from RFPI, and server storage. That was the $7,631.03 and the $4,901.60. That would allow us, with those extra 90 cameras, to be able to download that data faster and upload it into the servers and then get it into the permanent storage. An additional storage quote from Dell Technologies under state contract was $105,228.28. We've estimated how much data storage we would need to ensure that we had ample storage left over if we end up with more videos than we thought we would. So we've made enough room in there to make sure that we have enough room to store all of the data from our body cameras and our car cameras all in the same location. Be glad to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Chief. Counselors?
How much data storage does $105,000 get us, just out of curiosity?
I don't know.
Okay.
I leave that to the IT
Okay.
to make a recommendation as to how many terabytes we need to take an estimate of how long we're going to keep data, how much data it's going to need. And so Aaron Kelly's not here tonight, but I relied on IT to come up with the numbers for how much data we would need, and the $105,000 covers that, plus some additional room in the event that we need additional storage.
I think the quote says 240 terabytes.
Okay.
Which is a lot.
Chief, how long do you store a video once it's been collected?
Well, we We will sit down once we get the approval to buy the body cameras. We will sit down with the city attorney's office and start trying to figure out how we can set times for certain types of events. So maybe, a traffic stop or a warning was written doesn't need to be held as long as a traffic stop where a citation was written, or where there was an arrest made versus, an officer just stopped on a motorist assist. But trying to break that all down to figure out how we need to store those videos and how long will require us to have a long conversation with the city attorney's office to kind of categorize those different events. Some of those events we're going to need to keep indefinitely. Some of those are going to be dependent on how long it takes to get the case through the court system, and then whatever the outcome is will determine how long we keep that video. And then like the day-to-day stuff, traffic stops and just motorist assist and maybe a suspicious person contact, and breaking all of that down into blocks so that we're not storing unnecessary data for extended periods of time, which requires us to have more storage.
So it sounds like you'll build a policy kind of once
Yeah,
you...
we'll build a policy internally to cover that storage times for different types of data.
Is that similar to how the car cameras?
Right now on the car cameras, we're storing everything for 30 months because we have enough storage to do that. Okay. And some things we store longer because
if there's an incident,
it's going to court or it has a longer process. But everything else we're just kind of just shotgunning. But we really need to break that down once we add in 90 more body cameras, because we're going to have a lot more video coming in than we did have from the cars.
Mm-hmm.
So on the cameras themselves, are we buying the actual camera like to keep forever, or is this like a? Yes,
we're buying them. We will own the cameras. It's not a rental or a lease program. It allows us to purchase those. WatchGuard recommends replacing those at about every 5 years. So our plan is as we get closer to that time and we see how well those cameras function and kind of what we think their longevity would be, is to start breaking that down to where we're not coming back and asking to replace 90 at one time. We can do maybe a third of that and then kind of space those out, because some cameras are going to take a lot harder beating than others. So, somebody who's working a lot of traffic and out in the weather a lot is not going to get the same longevity out of the camera of maybe somebody who's assigned as a detective or assigned as a supervisor who is not out using their camera as much. And so maybe those cameras, we rotate those off, but we kind of really just have to see how they hold up to the day-to-day wear and tear that the officers are putting on them, and then kind of build in a replenishment program so that we're not taking a big cost every time we would need to replace those.
I assume your camera will just have a bunch of meetings on it?
What's that?
Your camera will just record a bunch of meetings?
Yeah, my camera will have a bunch of meetings on it and a bunch of really boring video.
All right, counselors, further questions on item 7C, which is the body camera portion of this item? Is there a motion?
Motion to approve sole source purchase of 90 WatchGuard body cameras, associated equipment installation, licensing, and support from WatchGuard totaling $247,785.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the purchase of body cameras. Please vote. With a vote of 4-0, that item is approved. On item 7D, this is the purchase of infrastructure upgrades. So, Chief, you mentioned this is building infrastructure that needs to be upgraded?
Yeah, it's for because as we bring those extra cameras into the building and they're trying to upload all of that data at one time, we need to upgrade our infrastructure to be able to handle all of that extra data flowing through the system, so that we don't have officers backlogged waiting on their cameras to upload before they can leave, and it gets it to the server a lot quicker so we can download that data quicker. But with all those extra cameras, we need to upgrade our servers and upgrade the internal infrastructure of the IT system so that it will work.
Counselors, questions on this item or a motion?
Motion to approve infrastructure upgrades from RFIP totaling $12,533.
It's different. They're different numbers.
We just need some
That is true.
clarification. Do you have a recommended motion on this, Chief Watts? Because it looks like the report has
A different number.
one number and the agenda item
is expenditure of $7,631.03.
Yes.
Is that the correct number?
Yes.
Okay, would you like to amend your motion?
I would like to amend my motion to approve infrastructure upgrades from RFIP totaling $7,631.03.
Second.
We have a motion and a second on the infrastructure upgrade by RFIP. Please vote. It's approved with a vote of 4-0. Item 7E is expenditure of $4,901 for server upgrades by SHI. Councilors, any questions on this item or a motion?
Motion to approve expenditure of $4,901.60 for server upgrades by SHI to support the SPD body worn camera program.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. That's approved by a vote of 4-0. And then item 7F is approve expenditures of $105,299 for the purchase of data storage from Dell Technologies. Councilors, questions or a motion?
Motion to approve purchase of additional data storage from Dell Technologies, contract totaling $105,229.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. That passes with a vote of 4-0.
I think,
Thank
is
you,
it
Chief.
229 or 299?
Did I read it wrong?
I said $299, I think. Oh, wait.
$105,299. That's what I heard. Was that the motion?
Yeah, we made the motion for
Look at my numbers again.
we made the motion for $299, but the actual quote says $229.
Oh, so I need to amend.
Okay, just a second. Let's confirm. We might need Chief Watts.
No, I think I read it wrong. Oh, that was wrong. Okay. That makes me feel a little bit better.
It's
Okay, hold on, I'm looking.
it's $105,229.
That's the amount?
Yes.
And
Okay.
that's what that's what Vice Mayor said.
Perfect. So we have a good motion.
All right.
Yep, perfect.
Too many numbers. Thank you, Chief. We appreciate the work from you and the department on this program, too. This is going to, it's a big deal for the community.
Yeah.
All right. Item 7G. Approve the city's annual comprehensive final report, single audit report, and passenger facility charge program audit report for fiscal year ended June 30th, 2021. Christy Cluck.
Yes, good evening. Christy Cluck, Finance Director. And the city has undergone 3 different types of audits this year for our fiscal year 21 activity. And so I'm going to go through the results of those audits with you this evening. And all audits were conducted by our external audit firm, BT & Co. out of Topeka, Kansas. And all related reports are in your packet. Our audit committee also met with BT & Co. staff prior to this meeting to go through the annual comprehensive financial report as well as the audit results. So the first type of audit is an audit of our financial statements. And this audit is required by state statute and by city charter and is conducted on an annual basis. City staff is responsible for compiling the numbers that go into the financial statements and then preparing those financial statements that are included in the annual comprehensive financial report. So then our auditors come in and conduct a series of tests, audit tests, to be able to render an opinion on those financial statements on whether or not they fairly represent the city's financial position and any changes in the financial position over the course of that fiscal year. And so BT & Co. Did that audit work, and they have rendered an unmodified opinion, which is the best type of opinion that the city can receive. And so that opinion letter can be found on pages 13 through 15 of the annual comprehensive financial report, and that's the one with the colorful cover. So BT & Co. also issued a separate report on internal controls, which is found on pages 126 and 127 of that annual report. And in the report on internal controls, no deficiencies or material weaknesses were identified during the course of the audit. And then also related to the financial statement audit, BT & Co. provides an auditor communication letter, which is addressed to the council and the audit committee, and that's provided under separate cover. And that letter identifies the responsibilities of both the audit firm and of city management. It identifies difficulties encountered during the course of the audit, as well as any significant items or estimates that were used in preparation of the financial statements. And so I am pleased to report that no unusual or significant items were included in that auditor communication letter. So the second type of audit that the city underwent was an audit of our federal expenditures for our grants, which is also called the single audit. And the city is required to have a single audit anytime that we expend more than $750,000 in federal funds in a single fiscal year. And so for us in fiscal year 21, we spent about $16 million. The single audit was performed in conjunction with the financial statement audit by BT & Co., and it included tests of compliance with federal grant agreements. An unmodified opinion was also issued by BT & Co., and no instances of material weaknesses or significant deficiencies were identified, and there were no instances of non-compliance found. And then finally, our third type of audit that we underwent was an audit of our passenger facility charge, which is a new audit for us this year. So the passenger facility charge, otherwise known as PFC, since we all love acronyms, is a fee that's collected by the airlines from the passengers, and then it's remitted to the city to be used for projects that are approved by the Federal Aviation Administration. So we do have to apply to be able to collect and receive this PFC revenue. As long as we receive, hold, or spend PFC funds, we will be required to have this audit on an annual basis. So the city began collecting the fee in the fall of 2020, so that's why this is the first year that we're subject to this type of audit. And an unmodified opinion was issued by BT & Co. on this audit as well. And there were no instances of non-compliance with the PFC program found. And so I'll pause here for any questions that you might have, and then I have a recommendation whenever you're ready.
Counselors, any questions?
I know we always say it, but I'm always so grateful for the work that you all put into this, and the obvious with our findings that it's of the highest integrity and quality. It's so important right now as we look to some of the grant funding and federal funding that might be available, that we have clean audits, that we can demonstrate that when we do receive federal funding, basically our tax dollars back to us, that we are managing those well and responsible, and that the audits are showing, demonstrating that. I'm just very proud of all of you and the work that you've done. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Second.
Third.
Fourth. Unanimous.
I do have to give a shout out to the airport, and Paul is here, and thank you very much for coming. Airport was hit really hard this year in this audit process, both through the single audit and the new PFC audit, and so his staff was amazing and very responsive and helpful in the process.
Great. Thank you, Paul.
What is your recommended motion?
So it is the Audit Committee's recommendation that City Council approve the annual comprehensive financial report, the single audit report, and the PFC program audit report for the fiscal year ending June 30, 2021.
Thank you, Christy. And also extend our thanks to the Audit Committee themselves, folks in our community who serve to go through all these documents as well and make sure that it's all conducted correctly. So we appreciate their service on the Audit Committee. Is there a motion on the item?
Motion to accept Audit Committee recommendations?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to accept the Audit Committee's recommendations. Please vote. With a vote of 4-0, that item is approved. I know, Christy, it's got to feel just like We should spend way more time up here talking about this to just match the amount of time that you guys put into presenting it. But I think it's inverse. The amount of time you put into it means we don't have to deal with it as much. So we appreciate it. Item 7H. Rob's raring to go over there. Approve lease purchase contract with Motorola Solutions for the purchase of public safety radio systems. Rob, tell us about it.
All right. Good evening, Mayor, councilors. So I'm really excited tonight to be able to bring before you a project that has been a long time in the making and involves several years and thousands of staff hours. Approximately 3.5 years ago, the city manager's office tasked emergency management with finding a solution for the city's radio communications issues for public safety. I don't want to confuse this with our critical core services or anything like that. Public safety in this instance is police, fire, emergency management, and to include the airport. Issues range from outdated and aged equipment, from whether deferred maintenance or just simply couldn't get it replaced, trouble communicating within our own public safety responders on emergencies in our response areas within town, problems communicating with our mutual aid partners, both going to support and receiving, and dead spots within the community. And a lot of those dead spots are due to expansion over the last several years. We have dead spots inside of local businesses, schools, on the OSU campus, hotels, industries. And some of this is due to better construction practices and types of construction materials that have been implemented over the last several years. But some of it has been pre-existing since the system was designed. Our current radios are business-based model radios and not public safety grade radios. And these all pose a substantial risk to first responders and potentially the community. As a result, staff contacted Motorola Solutions, Inc., an approved statewide contract vendor, to create and design a solution that would address each issue listed above while providing a mechanism to keep equipment and infrastructure current and allow for replacement of equipment on a regular basis, thus ensuring up-to-date technology in this arena. Once we began the process, we recognized that all the communities in Payne County were affected by these same issues. Staff went back to the city manager's office and asked for permission to expand this project to the county level. The project was expanded to include all communities in Payne County and Oklahoma State University. We hosted 3 meetings and invited every city, town, and community with the public safety program to explain the direction, the goals, and the end result of the desired project. This portion of the project took approximately 2.5 years. While the county level plan has lost traction and OSU has chosen to take a different path, the city is ready to move forward with their part of the design and implementation process that will support public safety for Stillwater. This project will put first responders on the same system, eliminating the need for interoperability across multiple radio systems. It will put all mutual aid partners in one radio, so there will not be the need for carrying multiple radios or using multiple radios in vehicles. Provide a plan for future upgrades and eliminating the deferred maintenance conundrum. Upgrade first responders to the newest technology in radio communications and bring them to a true public safety platform. Replace equipment that is outdated, equipment that is no longer supported, and in some instances, more than 20 years old. It will improve communications in geographical areas, in buildings, around buildings with substantial construction, and it will allow us the ability to tie into a statewide system already in use by many other communities in Oklahoma. This is important because this allows us to receive mutual aid partners from across the state of Oklahoma, as well as send resources to them. The system that I'm referring to is the OQWIN system, or the Oklahoma Wireless Information Network. Additional benefits will be the design will include upgrading the 6 consoles we have in dispatch in our current radar room or where we monitor for severe weather. It's important to note that the equipment that's there is now reaching end of life, so this will be a very much needed upgrade. an upgrade of our audio data recorder that captures our radio communications traffic, and a new equipment building that will be installed parallel to our existing communications that is beneficial at the tower site. I'm going to pause right there to see if you guys have any questions. Okay. So pricing for this new system, hold on to yourself.
Before you get to pricing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I've received calls and emails from first responders about the problems communicating within buildings and creating a safety, at times creating safety hazards for firefighters, for police officers. Do we, have we been able to test these systems? Do we have a good sense? I assume you have a good sense that these will solve those issues that our first responders have been dealing with?
So I will tell you honestly that I know that we will solve a lot of our current problems, but I can't solve them all. There's just not one system in place that can solve them all. What we do have available to us is the resources from the installation company and Motorola. So Motorola and Bearcom, we can work with them on locations that we do not have good communications on to come up with a solution. So for example, if you wanted to use, say, the junior high school, SRO steps in the school, they have to talk to us on cell phone because they are in a dead zone for radio. We believe that based on all the studies that were done, all the engineering that was done, that will go away. That won't be an issue anymore. They'll be able to walk through the school and be able to communicate wherever they need. Additional officers respond, or even firefighters respond. So I'm not going to be able to fix all the problems, but I can fix a lot of them.
So is that is there anything in here that, I know you can't guarantee that it fixes all of them, but I mean, if he walks into the junior high with this new radio and it still doesn't work, do we have a
So I will tell you off
plan?
record that we have been running so the new system is digital.
Okay.
We currently run analog. We have been playing with a digital repeater system now that's located here at City Hall, set up in a beta format. We have gone out to the schools. We're able to communicate using that lesser system out of the schools.
Okay.
So where I can't give you proof of concept on this system, I can at least take a lesser system and make it work. Now I can't fix everything.
Sure.
And then if we, the big ticket items are going to be places like, I really hate to call anybody out, but large locations that we go to on a regular basis where once the officer steps in, they can't communicate.
Yeah.
Right. We know we can moving forward.
Okay. Well, I appreciate that, Rob, because it is, I mean, it's been expressed to me as a serious problem by first responders, and we want to make sure we get it solved. And I know you have put several years of effort into this, and I appreciate the fact that we'll be able to take some steps forward.
There are options moving forward. We discussed them this evening before council, and I will give you an example. If we find locations that we determine that need help now, then I can refer back to Motorola and to Bearcom and say this is a location that is not acceptable for us not to be able to communicate out of, and they can create a solution. Okay. We can also change, kind of hate to go down this path, this is not my specialty, but we can change city code and say any new construction or any new remodels that take place, those people have to provide what they call bidirectional amplifiers, or BDAs, in those locations, in those facilities, so that law enforcement and fire and emergency services can communicate within that structure.
Okay.
That's something that is being done in Oklahoma City. That's something that the state of Colorado does. Texas does it, so it's not uncommon. And we've actually received phone calls from new business owners coming in wanting to know what the requirements are for communications for law enforcement.
That's good to know.
We don't have any at the present.
Okay, thank you. What's it gonna cost us?
All right. I may need to require Melissa's help and Christy Cluck's help, but pricing for the new system will total $6,775,000, and Motorola has offered us a 5-year lease purchase option. The lease would begin on January 1st, 2022, with the first payment of $1,355,000 due on January 1st, 2023, and there is no penalty for early payout. The new system would be installed at the existing radio tower site that we currently have an agreement with Suddenlink on at 1000 South Stillwater. So there's no cost for a new tower site, there's no land purchase, there's no lease agreement that has to be done. This is just for infrastructure, for subscriber equipment, and for the upgrade of our voice recorder and dispatch.
When would you have it in place?
So we talked about that as well. We're going to say somewhere in the 9 to 12 month time frame, provided that there's no backups, that products are available, that there's nothing stuck in a ship in the ocean somewhere.
So would that first lease payment, which would be January of 2023, would it be delayed if the system's not fully implemented or in place by then?
This is Chris.
I knew I was going to ask a question that got you up here eventually.
Sure. So the 0% lease financing is set. It's a set schedule, but we feel very confident that we will have everything in place within sort of a 9-month time frame is the kind of the point looking for.
And it'll get started first of the year?
Yes, sir. We'll get, first step will be kickoff meeting with project managers and Rob to make sure everybody's on the same page, and stuff will start arriving pretty rapidly.
Okay. Thank you.
Mayor, we looked at, once we go down this route, we will kind of pave the way for other municipalities or the county even to join.
So that kind of brings up my other question, which was you mentioned that OSU decided to go a different direction.
They did.
They
chose to go with an LTE-based system that utilizes Wi-Fi on the OSU campus. So everywhere that they have an access point in every building that has Wi-Fi, they have a public safety Wi-Fi network. And as soon as they step out of their vehicle, they're on LTE. They step into the building, they're on Wi-Fi. And from what I understand, they like it.
How does that affect our ability to communicate with them?
So, just to be honest, when they migrated to that system away from their original system, we now no longer have communications with them.
That seems less than ideal. Except by phone.
Yes.
Okay. I assume that's not a system we could implement wider in a more, why didn't we go with an LTE-based system, I guess is what I'm
Expense.
asking. Okay.
I know $6.7 million seems like a lot, but when you take in the lease of a SIM card for a device, purchasing that device or leasing that device, times all firefighters, times all police officers, times all emergency management personnel, the cost is exponential per year. Plus the service. We haven't even talked about paying for the service yet.
I'm sort of monopolizing the questions. Counselors?
All good questions.
All good questions.
Yeah, very good. You asked mine about why OSU went somewhere else.
Yeah, it's disappointing. But you did mention that the other county and the county and other municipalities in the county may come to this system eventually, or I'm sorry, what?
Yes, so we're kind of pioneering the way at the moment. We actually designed a county-wide system to be implemented at the county level. And all we've done at this point is, it's kind of lost traction, so all we've done at this point is we've just simply extrapolated our portion for the city of Stillwater and said we want to move forward with this. Sheriff Harper's behind me. He is very interested in this system. and is very eager to see how it's going to work because he thinks that it can fix a lot of their problems as well.
Yeah.
As you know, a lot of their road deputies, there may be 2, 3 on, and they work solely or solo, and their closest assistants may be the next municipality, or it could be the next deputy that's across the county.
Counselors, any further questions for Rob?
Mayor Joyce, I do want to point out that the City Attorney's Office has not had an opportunity to review the lease purchase agreement. It appears it requires a certificate of incumbency, an opinion of legal counsel, and also a resolution. So if you did approve the project and authorize the expenditures, I would ask that you only approve the contract pending legal review by my office.
Seems reasonable. I was going to ask you probably the question about, I mean, I guess as a lease, it being contingent, it's got to be contingent on our actual appropriation of funds.
Yeah.
And so if we don't appropriate it the second year, you guys just come take your radios back?
I have not seen the agreement prior to the meeting tonight, but it does look like they've addressed non-appropriations of funds.
Okay.
And I do believe, oh, sorry about that, that with this being a purchase off the statewide contract, they've probably addressed some of the government contractual provisions, but again, we just haven't had an opportunity to review it.
Okay. Yeah, so that, I mean, that's a good point. I mean, this is a state contract vendor, so all of that stuff is per state contract. We don't have to worry about the competitive bidding and all that.
You may ask the vendor if the lease purchase agreement is also something that's been approved by the state procurement office, because I'm not sure.
Do you all know?
I don't know specifically, but I can say that within the state of Oklahoma, we've probably done 40 plus, if not close to 100 of these leases with municipalities, counties throughout the state.
Okay. So we don't anticipate problems. Thank you. What else? What's your recommendation for us, Rob?
Recommendation is motion to approve the lease purchase contract with Motorola Solutions, Inc. for the purchase of a public safety radio system, authorize expenditures not to exceed $6,775,000 for the system through the state contract SW number 1053M, and authorize the city manager to execute the lease purchase contract.
And we would,
I recommend amending the motion to drop the last sentence, authorizing the city manager to execute it, and just say pending city attorney's office review of the contract.
everyone understand that recommended motion? Would anyone like to make the recommended motion?
I move to accept staff recommendation, amending it to say pending city attorney's office review of the contracts.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the contract pending city attorney review. Please vote. We voted 4-0, that item is approved. Rob, thanks for a ton of hard work on this project. I know you've been working on it for a long time, and with our partners and with other folks around the county and the university, and we very much appreciate the work that you put into it.
Thank you, Mayor.
That takes us to item 8, resolutions. We have a resolution CC-2021 dash something. Hold on a second.
45.
45. Resolution CC-2021-45, which is a resolution authorizing signatories for depositaries. Depositaries? Depositaries? Is that the right word? Depositories?
I
Is there an
think,
accountant in the house?
I think it's depositories, and it's in the title, it's got a scrivener's error.
Should be in it. Okay. I was going to say, I don't know if I know that word. This is our annual resolution. Christy, why don't you just come explain it?
Yeah.
So really the only change is that our court clerk has retired, and so that's the only change on here, is we're replacing Melinda Gray with Lisa Burley's name so that they can continue to write checks as needed.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Counselors,
Motion to adopt resolution CC-2021-45.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt the resolution. Please vote. Vote of 4-0, the resolution is adopted. Reports from officers and boards. Ms. Carnley.
Yes, I have 2 items this evening. One, request for an executive session pursuant to 25 OS Section 307B1 of the Oklahoma Open Meeting Act for the purpose of confidential communication regarding the employment, appointment, promotion, demotion, disciplining, or resignation of City Manager Norman McNichol. 2, request an executive session pursuant to 25 OS Section 307B1 of the Oklahoma Open Meeting Act for the purpose of confidential communication regarding the employment, appointment, promotion, demotion, disciplining, or resignation of interim City Attorney Kimberly Carnley.
Thank you. Mr. McNichol.
Thank you. I'd like to recognize a few of our long-standing employees who are retiring from the city. Linda Gray, who's been with us for 32 years in the court clerk's office. Brian Edmondson, 30 years in inspections from community development. And Linda Morris, 38 years as a 911 dispatcher. All of those folks have done stellar work for the city. We hate to see them go, but we wish them all well in their retirement.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you for such long-term service. That's it? That's all you got? Vice Mayor.
Yes, city offices will be closed for the holiday on Friday, December 24th and Friday, December 31st. Trash and recycling will be collected on all holidays, but not yard waste. Make sure to set your carts out by 6 a.m. because collection routes can vary.
I think it's, I really appreciate the fact that our collection crews go out on Christmas Day and actually I guess it's Saturday,
Christmas
so
Eve,
nobody
yeah.
is, but
Yep.
normally they would if it wasn't
Right.
a Saturday.
Yeah.
That's a great service.
Absolutely.
Councilor Hawkins.
If you've been driving around town, you may have noticed the road work on Highway 177 and Perkins Road. This is the beginning of a joint project with the Oklahoma Department of Transportation that is expected to last through the end of 2023. Motorists can expect lane shifts, reduced speed limits, and delays in the area. Visit stillwater.org and click on the red traffic advisory banner at the top of the page for more information.
Thank you, Councilor Hawkins. That's, yeah, you may have noticed that. I don't know if those of you out there might have noticed. We're not just directing all of the questions to Monty. Is that not the plan? Councilor Jaloski.
Yes, the Stillwater Fire Department encourages residents who live outside city limits, but within the Stillwater Fire Department's response area, to purchase a rural fire service contract for 2022. These $100 contracts ensure that response fees for each fire incident on a contracted property will not exceed $2,000. All collected fees go toward training, rescue tools, and other fire equipment. Visit stillwater.org/fire to download the application.
Thank you, Councilor.
And actually, Mayor, I just wanted to take a quick second to recognize Vice Mayor Zanotti's hard work and commitment to our community with Mary Main Street. It is, I am sure, a labor of love, and I know our family enjoyed multiple weekends at the Domes and on Mary Main Street. We got our Christmas tree there. It's just a remarkable gift to our community, and I just wanted to say thank you for your time and care.
You bet. Thank you.
Absolutely. I will add that many families will be putting their presents under a live Christmas tree that they may have bought at Mary Main Street, like I did this week. Residents can bundle up their tree and place it on the curb to be picked up as part of the city's regular yard waste collection, free of charge. Make sure you remove your decorations from the tree before you bundle it. And it needs to be less than 4 feet long, 8 inches across, and no more than 80 pounds. No, 50 pounds, excuse me. I will also note that, as we all know, we have an opening here on the City Council. There is an application posted on the stillwater.org page if you go to Mayor and City Council for those who might be interested in applying to be appointed to our open City Council seat. Please go online, again, stillwater.org, click on Mayor and City Council, and please get that application in by January 7th so that we can consider those and get someone appointed within the 60-day window. That is up on the website now, correct? All right. That takes us to item 11, which would be executive session. And so at this point, I will recess the city council meeting, and I will move us over to the Stillwater Utilities Authority meeting for the evening. I'll call the SUA meeting to order. First up on the consent docket, we have meeting minutes and a budget allocation, a budget amendment. Is there a motion on the consent docket?
Motion to approve the consent docket?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve consent. Please vote. With a vote of 4-0, the consent docket's approved. Under general orders, item 5 is a motion to approve a contract amendment to the agreement for construction management at risk with Burns & Mack to modify the scope of services under the pre-construction phase of the caustic feed system, finished water pump station, and recovered pump station. I'm going to let David explain that to us.
Good evening, trustees. David Barth again with City Engineering, here tonight to talk to you about the confirmed system improvements at the water treatment plant. So again, this is a slide that you've seen before, that we've introduced our water treatment plant and raw water delivery system project presentations. This is the Caw pump station up just south of the Caw Reservoir. This is the timeline that we've showed previously. We started, just a small recap, but we started this last summer with Corollo Engineers and Burns & McDonnell acting as our construction manager at risk. And they worked with us through the project definition phase for development of alternatives for the improvements to the water treatment plant and our raw water delivery system. And we gave a report to you in September, an update in October. We promised we'd come back this month for consideration of the confirmed improvements, which is why I'm here tonight. Towards the latter part of January, we plan to come present to you some alternatives for additional raw water storage. And then after that, hopefully we'll come to you with a recommendation or a recommended action plan for improving the water treatment plant and the raw water delivery system. So the confirmed system improvements are the caustic feed system, the recovered water pump station, the finished water pump station, and the cathodic protection system. I did forget to say that this presentation actually covers all three agenda items, 5A, 5B, and 5C. Anyway, all of these confirmed system improvements are compatible with anything that we choose to do to the water treatment plant in the future. Whether we build a new water treatment plant, whether we rehab our plant, if we need to expand it from 18 million gallons per day capacity to up to 30 million gallons per day in the year 2070 as projected, we will be able to do that with these improvements. Oh, sorry, forgot the picture. I know you all love pictures. So anyway, the picture on the right there is the inside of the lime system. And so I know that we gave tours to Trustee Jaloski and Trustee Hawkins, and we would love to have others come out. So they stood in this room and they can tell you what it looks like. And probably this picture doesn't do it justice, but this was installed with the original water treatment plant. It is at the end of its life, and we have to maintain it. You can see, if you look really close, there's small motors with chain, like a bicycle chain that's pulling a pulley, driving a pulley, and so those things break constantly. Our crews are having to go out there sometimes in the middle of the night to work on that system, and so we're adding a caustic feed system as a temporary backup to the lime system that will serve us until we can get our water treatment plant alternative going, whether it's a new plant or a rehab plant. The lime system we use, by the way, is to soften our water, and so the caustic feed system will do the same thing. These two pictures, the one on the left is the recovered, or also called the recycle pump station. And so this takes water from the lagoons, which is mostly backwash water from backwashing our filters. And we're allowed to take 10% of that, 10% of our daily flow at the plant and send it back up to the top of the treatment train and mix it with our raw water coming from Caw Lake. So you can see in this picture on the left, the pumps are corroded. The left pump is actually spraying water because it's running when I took the photo. The wet well there, the lid is corroded. So this entire facility needs to be replaced with a new pump station. The right picture is the existing finished water pump station. A couple of things about that. So originally our plant was designed and constructed to treat 12 million gallons per day, and then later it was expanded to 18 million gallons per day. This pump station can only deliver 15 million gallons per day to the city of Stillwater customers. Another issue is that the pumps themselves, the way this pump station is designed, the pumps require a suction pressure to be able to operate and deliver the water to the distribution system, such that we can only use the top 2/3 of our large concrete clear well, which is basically a building that stores clean drinking water. And so that bottom third, so it's an 18-foot tall building, the bottom 6 feet, so 1 million gallons of that, we're not able to send out into distribution because the pumps won't work at that with the way it's set up. So our new finished water pump station, we're planning on using vertical turbine pumps, so we'll be able to use the full capacity of the clear well. It will also be, like I said, expandable if we need to increase demand in future, or increase the pump station capacity to meet demand in future years, as well as it will be more efficient as well. So just a little bit, we've talked a lot about CMAR, Construction Manager at Risk, and wanted to talk about the advantages that we've seen so far, and why I'm asking you to authorize continuation of that this evening. The Construction Manager at Risk, which is Burns & McDonnell, they're engaged early. And so we've asked them to participate in pre-construction services, so they will provide, during the design phases, 30, 60, 90% of design, they will participate in workshops with our engineers. They will provide estimating, constructability reviews. They will do value engineering to make sure that we're providing the best value to our ratepayers. And everything that they're going to do with preparing the work packages for the bid, to put out these work packages to bid, will still meet state bidding requirements. So Title 61 and what's the other thing?
Title 60.
Title 60 that we have to meet because we're a trust. The other thing that's a really good advantage to using Construction Manager at Risk is that it allows for early procurement. So, for example, this caustic feed system, we're going to be designing that in January, but we can already, our engineer can spec the pumps, and we can order the pumps now, and we can have that, because a lot of things are, on back order in this world these days. So we can have things spec'd and ordered while the engineer is still designing the rest of the project. We can also, for example, the engineer could develop earthwork packages, and we could start work on earthwork before we have the rest of the design finished on the pump stations. So what this means is typically we can accelerate schedules. We're able to take advantage of, shrinking the time frame that it takes, because sometimes when you start a project, then you have to wait for the contractor who you've selected through your bidding process to order those materials. So the pre-construction services and the design services that we're asking you to authorize this evening will be funded with the water fund, and then later we'll come back and discuss, construction. That second bullet on this slide is just the alignment to the city's strategic plan. And I think with that, I would take any questions. I've got all of the, I know they're really wordy, the recommended motions on this slide.
Just there's three issues here. We want to amend one contract with Burns & McDonnell to modify the scope of their portion to include all of these projects. And then the other two are with Corollo, one on the caustic feed and then one on the finished water pump.
Well, so I should have explained that a little bit better, or at all. But the first one is, yes, it's an amendment to our agreement with Burns & McDonnell. for them to provide pre-construction services for all three of the confirmed system improvements that we talked about: the caustic feed system, the finished water pump station, and the recovered pump station. The reason why we've split up the design phase services between two separate amendments with Corollo is because the caustic feed system is on a much shorter schedule. And so when we originally put this together, we thought we were going to be coming in to you and doing the caustic feed system by itself maybe a month ago, and it just didn't work out. And so we could have gone back and incorporated that into a single amendment, but it would have been a lot of extra effort that we would have paid somebody to do. And so it's no big deal to leave them as two separate amendments. They're actually, the caustic feed is going to be fully designed and ready to build by June, where it's going to take much longer to design these two pump stations. And it's also the lagoon improvements that are part of that recovered pump station. We'll be cleaning out the lagoons, putting in some new piping. So those are much bigger, much more expensive parts of the whole thing.
Trustees, other questions?
I just want to say I did have a chance to tour, and as we do love pictures, it really does help. But having been out there, I think that we take for granted being able to turn on our water faucets and have clean, safe drinking water, and the work that they're doing out there with some antiquated systems. And not being an expert in those systems, you can kind of see the extra work they're having to do right now. I really appreciate the process that you guys are going through in terms of trying to do kind of this long-range planning and think about flexible projects and kind of tasks within the larger framework of supplying the city clean water. I think I really have appreciated that approach through this. It's kind of overwhelming, the number of zeros that come with these systems and this process, but also, how do you put a number on the importance of that? So thank you for the work that you guys are doing. I know on a daily basis, just giving us clean water, but also the work that you've put into trying to figure out how to replace it, when to replace it, and how all that works. we really see that in the stuff that you're bringing for us tonight.
Yeah, I wish we didn't have to put zeros on these projects, but what is I don't know if have we approved a full project cost at this point for any of these yet, or do we know what that number is going to look like?
We don't know as far as, I can tell you that these three items that we're looking at here, the estimated cost to construct them is around $16 million. So right now we're just asking you to authorize the design and pre-construction phase services. But later, once we get to 90% design, then our construction manager at risk will set the guaranteed max price, and then we'll come back in and we'll ask for authorization. And we're still looking at some ways to pay for construction. We have some money that we've saved up for work at the water treatment plant, but we've also got loans that we're looking at. Some of the financing options that we talked about in the October meeting, we can go to the OWRB and utilize the drinking water state revolving fund. We've done that. You can borrow money directly from the state. There's WIFIA, which is another thing. So there's lots of options for us to pay for these improvements, but at the end of the day, you still got to, if you borrow money, you got to pay it back. And how do you do that? So I feel like we've got a great team, and we're being very smart with the city's ratepayers' money. We're looking at this, and we're not just saying, and we've told our consultants numerous times, yeah, we understand you can design a Rolls Royce, but we don't need a Rolls Royce. We need something that's going to serve our residents and ratepayers for 50 years and serve them well, and maybe we can do that with something different. And so I've worked a lot negotiating these scopes with them. Some of them have started out at a lot higher number than what we're at tonight. But yeah, and I do know there are a lot of zeros, but keep in mind it's 50 years. So
yeah, from the looks of the recovered water pump system, we haven't spent much on it in the last 50 years.
That's exactly right.
In addition to those financing sources that David mentioned, we're also pursuing both state and federal grant funding. So there's a variety of sources that we're looking at.
I do think too, the ability to have these kind of shovel-ready, so to speak, could enhance our ability to receive grant funding down the road. I know that's often looked at as a positive.
Not to mention those clean audit reports.
Those clean audit reports are very helpful in getting federal money too. That's right.
Well, David, what are your recommendations for us here?
On agenda item 5A, a motion to approve contract amendment 1 to the professional services agreement for construction manager at risk services with Burns & McDonnell to modify scope of services to include services for pre-construction phase for the caustic feed system, finished water pump station, and recovered water pump station. Authorize the general manager to sign the amendment, approve the budget amendment appropriating $437,000 for the project, and authorize expenditures not to exceed $437,000.
Trustees, is there a motion on item, is it 5A or 6A?
6A.
6A.
It's 5A.
Is it
5A?
Is there a motion on item 5A?
Motion to accept staff's recommendation.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for this contract amendment. Please vote. With a vote of 4-0, that item is approved. How about item B, David?
Okay, on item 5B, the recommended motion to approve contract amendment 1 to the professional services agreement with Carollo Engineers to modify scope of services to include design services for the caustic feed system. Authorize the general manager to sign the amendment and approve the budget amendment appropriating $198,000 for the project and authorize expenditures not to exceed $198,000.
Trustees?
Motion to approve staff recommendations.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the item. Please vote. Item's approved 4-0. Item C, David.
Item 5C, the recommended motion is to approve contract amendment 2 to the professional services agreement with Carollo Engineers to modify scope of services to include design services for the finished water pump station and recovered water pump station. Authorize the general manager to sign the amendment and approve the budget amendment appropriating $2,198,000 for the project and authorize expenditures not to exceed $2,198,000.
Trustees?
Motion to approve staff recommendation.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve item 5C. Please vote. With a vote of 4-0, it's approved. Thank you, David. Thank you to your team for the hard work on the engineering.
Thanks for your support.
Any reports from the officers of the board? Is there a motion to adjourn the SUA?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn SUA. Please vote. With a vote of 4-0, Stillwater Utilities Authority is now adjourned. This time I'll reconvene the Stillwater City Council meeting at item 11 on the agenda. Is there a motion to enter into executive session for the items requested by the city attorney?
Motion to enter executive session.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to enter executive session. Please vote. Uh-oh. I went too fast there. I'm sorry. With a vote of 4-0, Stillwater City Council will now enter executive session.